today's show, dual premiership star Chelsea Randall wants even more football in her life.
Why a shift to North Adelaide is a win for the Crows and the community.
And the Eagle, who's found a new nest at West Lakes.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Crows Show, brought to you by Optus. I'm Mark Bickley.
And I'm Alana Smith. And Mark, 1 week on, so many supporters just can't stop talking about that great AFLW premiership and that extraordinary crowd.
Alana, 53,000 fans. It was quite remarkable and no doubt beyond everyone's expectations.
But very well deserved. Now, while Erin Phillips unfortunately faces months of rehab, her co-captain Chelsea Randall is chasing more football.
Yes, she's off to Ireland to play the Gaelic version.
Number 26, co-captain Chelsea Randall.
What a player she's been, 6-time All-Australian, 2 AFLW premierships.
I'm going to be heading over to Ireland in July for a couple of weeks. Decided probably back in January that it'd be nice to have a mid-year kind of break and holiday, and obviously the connection with my teammate Ailish being from Ireland and her family, so I'm actually going to go over there and hoping to get a game of Gaelic football or two over there and guess like code swap and just like what Ailish has done and see what it's like to play some Gaelic footy over there.
The Adelaide Crows hoist the cup again. Of 2019.
I actually had played it before back in Western Australia, and yeah, it's just such a fast game and very similar to Aussie rules. So I also had like a bit of a reflection, I guess, at the start of the year, because footy's kind of always been what I've done. I mean, was playing a little bit of rugby sevens, basketball, and some other things as well, but I just ended up pouring all my energy into footy.
And of course, our best wishes go with Chelsea. Now, with the soaring popularity of women's football, Mark, is the AFL ready to take the women's game to the next level?
I think it is. I think this has been a massive shot in the arm, getting a huge crowd like they have. Things like television rights, things like sponsorship, they can now go out with some confidence knowing that there is a massive audience out there who want to consume the product.
Absolutely, and that's a view that's echoed by Nicole Livingston.
They kept coming and they kept coming. Australian football, they were there to see. Women's football, a record crowd. It was more than a crowd though. It was fans and supporters and community, our future, our Gen W, our AFLW.
Indeed, and next season we're looking at further expansion, another 4 teams. What will that mean?
Yeah, look, there's a few tricky little things there. The biggest thing you have to worry about is that you're not diluting the talent too much. You want to keep the standard of footy up, and there's probably another 130 girls they're going to need to bring into the competition. So that's one part of it. I think the conference setup, the way that it's set up this year, enables them to expand that to have 7 per conference, and that's pretty seamless. But I would hope they would expand the length of the season a little bit as well.
Well, another big thing for consideration is, of course, the timing of the season. Where do you think it's best placed?
Yeah, a bit of discussion about whether it gets some fresh air around October, November, so away from the men's season. But I still think where it's placed right now, maybe started a little bit earlier. I know they're worried about clashing with the Australian Open, but I think what we've seen is it can stand on its own 2 feet. And also what we saw on the weekend was it just has to have a standalone time slot for the grand final. When you get to that level, and it's the grand final, people will come and watch the girls play.
Indeed. The good thing is, all good problems to have.
Yes.
Thanks very much, Mark. Well, the other big story of the past week has, of course, been the announcement of federal government funding to support the Crows' move to a new headquarters at North Adelaide. And while the redevelopment of the Aquatic Centre site will certainly be a major boost for the club, the benefits for the wider community will also be significant.
There's been some development with regards to the new facility in recent days, and I think people know that we've got 30 years left on our lease out here at West Lakes, but the development that has been taking place and that will continue for the next decade or so has had us looking at potential alternate options. We've looked particularly at the current site of the Adelaide Aquatic Centre. We've had some preliminary discussions with the City of Adelaide, who are supportive of our desire to develop a master plan on that site. And most recently we've had the federal government provide a grant of $15 million towards the total cost of any new facility. So that was great news. It's certainly well received and enables us to progress with some certainty with regards to what that facility could look like. I think we've seen sporting clubs evolve in recent years, and we've spoken about developing a sporting club of the future, and facilities tend to follow suit, whether that's internationally or locally. We've seen plenty of examples in Australia in the AFL with what Essendon have done, Fremantle's new facility, and we have similar ambition. It's not just around high performance facilities, it's around how you can deliver and improve the community activities and programs that we're running, whether that's having dedicated facilities for our Indigenous programs, the delivery of our females in football programs, our increasing focus on sports and technology. They're all important components of a modern day sports facility, and they'll be an important part of our master planning process.
The project is in much the same vein as community-based developments by Hawthorn, Essendon and Fremantle. Stay with us after the break. Can Rhett Biglands get the better of Don Pyke on the golf course?
Now, when players spend at least 5 out of every 7 days together, there's not much they don't know about each other. And according to Brodie Smith, very little escapes his attention. So, with the help of Thomas Foods, let's find out.
This week we're joined by Riley Knight. Let's see how much I know about my mate.
I'll give you an easy one to start with. What game did I debut in, and how many goals did I kick?
A showdown? Was it a showdown?
No.
Who was it?
Eagles.
Eagles. Of course, yes. And you kicked a snag, yes. 2 of them. In Perth.
Yes, you got one right. Oh, this is an easy one for you. You'll get this one. What is my post-game feed ritual?
Oh, well.
Name them all.
It could be anything. Pizza, anything you can drive through. KFC, McDonald's, anything.
How many goals did I kick in the elimination final in 2015 against the Dogs?
Did you play?
Actually, from memory, you were on tour of Dixon.
2. Let's not go there.
Did you kick that game?
I had a sore ankle. 2.
You had a sore ankle?
Yeah, you kicked 2.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Knight.
And he bends it brilliantly. Adelaide get another.
Watch out for more from those two in the near future. Now, many past and present footballers readily talk up their prowess on the golf course. Senior coach Don Pyke certainly has genuine ability on his side, and this year he's taking on challenges in a par 3 contest brought to you by Optus. The latest to have a go is former Crows ruckman Rhett Biglands.
Well, welcome along to Glenelg Golf Club. I'm joined here by former Crows ruckman Rhett Biglands. Welcome along, Biggles.
Mikey, thanks for having me. I would have rather this challenge been in the ocean, but you've set the golf course, so we'll see how we go.
Oh, I don't set the rules, mate. I'm just here sort of running the show. So, golfing expertise, you play much or not?
Terrible. I put the clubs in the car this afternoon, and the wife said, I said, I'm going to play golf with the Crows coach. And she said, don't lie.
Okay, we've got one hole ahead of us. We've got about 100 metres down there. A little par 3 here, so I'll let you take the honours.
Why am I having the honours?
Well, because I'm polite. Or you've got a piece that's a bit big, I reckon.
Where's the left to right?
Might have to club you down. Oh, it's come off the front. So, Biggles, post footy for you. Let the people know. What have you been up to? Have you transitioned from footy into what are you doing nowadays?
So I worked at the club until 2008 in commercial operations, and then from there we opened up the Nike stores. Got a business partner, so we opened up Nike Rundle Mall in 2010. Yep. Which was the first Nike store in the state, and then Nike Marion a couple of years after that.
And from a footy viewpoint, what was your fondest memory?
Apart from you as coach, to me, the midfield coach. Is that what you wanted me to say?
No.
One fond memory of Ivan Marek. Him and Chris Knights used to have pranks going, and they never knew who got them, but there was an enormous amount of horse droppings which ended up in Ivan Marek's locker. You never knew who it was. Well, I could be responsible for that.
You could be responsible for that. Okay, so you're now claiming that. 10 years down the track, you're claiming it. I like it. Right, let's go and see how we go. I'm just here. Oh, that's pretty tidy. Settle.
Stop there. Stop.
Settle. Oh, don't tell me.
Oh, get that on there. Did you get it? Don't worry about me. Oh, that's the best golf shot I've had in my life.
That was outstanding. I don't need to see that one in. I'll give you that one, Biggles.
Oh, I'm not giving you that. Oh, it's even.
All even. Thanks, Bigles. Thanks for coming out. Good to see you again, mate.
Yeah.
All right.
Don and Rhett obviously enjoyed sharing some time at Glenelg. Do stay with us when Mark returns, the young Crow who's helping players make the big leap.
Welcome back. Lockie Murphy has never forgotten the difficult journey he took to the AFL. Overlooked in the draft, he spent a year in the Crows development squad before being picked as a rookie and finally earning senior selection. Thanks to Revolution Roofing, he explains how he convinced the club to invest more experience in the top-up players.
When the Crows kicked off the 2018 season, an AFL debutant created a little bit of history.
Big opportunity, puts some 14 points up again with his third goal.
19-year-old Lachlan Murphy was the first Crow to be drafted from the club's development squad. He soon realised that other members could benefit enormously from training with AFL players. So he suggested senior Crows be rostered this year to assist the squad.
Just so we get an understanding of the players, see what they're good at, see what their weaknesses are, help them out. Because I know that when I was a top-up player, I got a kick out of when an AFL player would come up during a game and give me a bit of pointers. So for us to be able to do that and relay it onto these guys, it's going to make them better.
And the improvement has been immediate.
First couple of drills, the ball's been zinging around and really hitting our targets, and obviously it's quite windy out here tonight, but the skills have been good, the intent's been fantastic, and yeah, everyone seems to be real chirpy and excited, and yeah, it's great to see.
That's the one, great hit. Good start, gentlemen.
Selected as a rookie, Lockie played every sample game in 2017, winning the Dean Bailey Award as the best and most dedicated development player. He says he owes much to the squad's AFL experienced coaches.
For me, personally, in my development, yeah, I feel like that it's obviously made me a better player, and lucky enough it made me good enough to be playing AFL, but yeah, it'll make these players a lot better, and it made me a lot better as well.
2 years on, we see the rewards.
Lockie is certainly proof that perseverance pays off. Now, we know already that the mid-season draft is a hot issue for all SANFL clubs who fear that the loss of a top player could ruin their season. The Advertiser's Reece Humphrey believes the criticism is justified.
I'm all for players getting an opportunity to play at the highest level, particularly mature age recruits who have worked so hard for their chance at the big stage. But the AFL's mid-season draft is a mistake. Anything that compromises the integrity of the state league competitions, and in particular the SANFL, should not be allowed to happen. It's bad enough for South Adelaide that they lost their ruckman Keegan Brooksby to West Coast outside the national rookie and pre-season drafts last year, but then they lost their VFL recruit Hayden McLean to Sydney as recently as March. Crows coach Don Pyke is well within his rights to use the mid-season draft to look for a replacement for injured defender Tom Doedee this year. But in my opinion, you either take the mature age player at the end of the year in the national rookie or pre-season drafts, or not at all. State league competitions, including the SANFL, are doing their best to produce AFL-ready players, but it is still a legitimate competition and they're trying to win a premiership. Let's not get in the way of this important fact.
Thanks, Reece. Now, in 9 years as SANFL coach of the Eagles, Mick Godden never missed out on the finals. The Crows have seized on that experience, putting him in charge of the midfield. For Mick, it's something of a homecoming. He was a late pick by Adelaide in the club's first ever national draft in 1992. He talks about his new role in this chat, brought to you by Flight Centre.
It's been really good, really challenging, obviously, coming from where I've come from. It's a step up in information and lots of people to work with, which is unusual for me, so it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of good people at this footy club and yeah, enjoying it. The big difference is the amount of information that you take on, especially on match day. Obviously we have access to all sorts of things that I didn't have at SANFL level, so there's you know, things that we have to digest and make sure that we get the best out of the players. So that's probably the biggest change, is just dealing with the amount of information. My goal in coaching has just been to be the best that I can possibly be. So wherever that took me, and at this stage it's taken me to Adelaide, which is amazing, because to be a local South Australian, born and bred in the area, to play local footy and to coach local footy, and then to get that opportunity, it's great in your hometown.
Mick now shares a coach's box with former rival ex-Sturt coach Marty Matner. Still to come on The Crow Show, we learn that even as a junior, Wayne Miller was a star.
Good judges at Central District always knew that Wayne Miller would play AFL. With the help of Toyota, which is a great supporter of grassroots football, let's look back at those early days when Junior first pulled on a Bulldogs Guernsey.
I started under 13s at Central District, so I went out there, sort of development stuff, and then I was there pretty much till my draft year. So 13s to 18s. I eventually, went through the grades, finished the development stuff, which finished at 15s, and then you went into the underage stuff, under 16s, 18s. Then was lucky enough to play some league footy in my draft year, and I played a bit of twos footy the year before that.
He puts that through, and the Doggies are out to a 19-point break.
I remember the first time I got the actual Guernsey when I was 13, so the first time getting that, and I still got a photo of that. It was baggy as anything, like my shorts are that baggy, but I just remember putting it on and feeling proud that I'd made that little team.
Just sits up, Malera has a couple of bites out of it, he holds on to it.
Probably a game that stands out the most for me was probably the semi-final against Port Adelaide in the league in 2015. So that was we won by about 4 points, I reckon, and it's probably one of the better games that I've been involved in as a team.
In 2019, Toyota aimed to raise $1 million for grassroots clubs across Australia, and that's certainly good for footy. Make sure your local club registers their interest at the website toyotagoodforfooty.raffletix.com.au. Now, Toyota also rewards a crow in the crowd each week. While our camera patrolled Adelaide Oval's Southern Plaza, it focused on you. If you recognise yourself, contact the club by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, have a photo ID to show, and that prize will be all yours.
Well, that just about wraps up our show for this week, brought to you by Optus.
Now, don't forget, if you're not yet a member of the Adelaide Football Club, you can always secure a 3-game membership. Simply visit the website for all the details.
Yes, and check the website for all the latest news and player profiles. Remember also to keep an eye on the club's social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Speaking of Twitter, make sure you follow @The Crow Show.
Thanks for your company today, and we look forward to joining you again next Sunday
at 11:30 on 7. Bye for now.
See you then.